Hello, everybody. This is Stephen Whitfield with Drilling Contractor here at the 2023 SPE IADC International Drilling Conference in Stavanger, Norway. With me right now is the Chief Corvanaut of CORVA, Ryan Dawson, here to speak with me a little bit about data, everything that he's hearing. Mr. Dawson gave a presentation or a bit of an interview session at the SPE DSAT's IADC Art Symposium here at the conference. We're going to talk a little bit about what he said up there at that symposium. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for the warm welcome. It's a bit cold outside, but appreciate it inside. Yeah.
Oh, the Norway cold. It's always good. So I guess the first question, you made an interesting reference to Leo Tolstoy up there at the presentation, the Anna Karenina relationship between people and their data and sort of where CORVA fits into that. I guess the question I would ask, if you're talking about the relationship of data, particularly here in the oil and gas and drilling space, is sort of what are the areas that we're seeing the best use of the data? What are you hearing from your customers, from companies, about where we're best using our data, and where are some of the areas in drilling where we're probably not using the data the best?
Yeah, so I think like just in general, if you look at like providing the data to people to look at and showing them something that they previously haven't seen. So taking unseen data, showing it to people, it makes them curious, it makes them ask questions. And so like that's the best use of data. I know that's not specific, but it's really this process that I've seen over the last 10 years that's worked magically. Just show them something that doesn't look exactly right, and they're going to ask questions and go figure it out. Where there's data that's not being used very well, there's in many cases, like for example, in most mud motors and most RSSs today, they're sending up shock and vibration data. I've seen this very sparingly used. The reason I know this is because we're painstakingly trying to get people to map that into the sensor stream channel, the width channel, and there's so many issues there. So there's a lot more that can be done. I mean, for example, we don't even get cementing data. I mean, there's a whole host of things you can do in the drilling world. It extends to other parts of well construction. But I think just the best thing is like showing this data, getting it out there. People start to ask questions and they start to learn and they figure out what's going wrong or why did I do it on this well and not this well. So many things like that.
So you come at this from an interesting perspective because you're a digital guy, IT guy, digital guy. You see all the things that the digital people see, and so you get to see sort of different industries and sort of how digitalization has moved compared to, say, the oil and gas industry. So I guess the question I would ask from your perspective, what are some of the digitalization efforts that we've seen in other industries that you think might be valuable in the world of oil and gas drilling that maybe people aren't using?
Yeah, I would say it's not specific to any specific industry, but the biggest thing is what I call the clock speed of innovation. And the essential idea is like how many times are you iterating in a given set of time? So if you produce code, you write code, you release it, and then you get validation feedback and do it again, how fast does that happen? So in some companies that happens in 2 weeks, in some cases that happens in 6 months. The first company, they did 12 iterations in the time that the second company did it. So I think that's everything about innovation. And this is sort of borrowed from other industries. It's like the faster you're iterating, going and seeing what works and what doesn't, and bringing that back and testing it and modifying, that is really what innovation, where it comes from. And so I'm really enamored with that concept. I'm not saying I necessarily invented it, but I think that's one thing that can be introduced really in a good way to the oil and gas industry.
So Ryan, one thing you had also said was about data quality, that the customers are telling you all kinds of things about data quality. So I want to ask this. What can the industry do to make sure that it's getting the best data out of the sensors that it puts on a rig, for example? What can it do?
Sure. So data quality is not just the sensors. I mean, it's tons of things. There's translation of data happening all over the place from the source to originally where you see it. And so sensors are one part of it. There's all kinds of other things. I mean, you usually have to aggregate maybe 10 or more systems together, and you can just imagine how many problems you have there. I think that the biggest thing you can do is bring transparency to what those errors are. So if there was a system out there that basically aggregated or showed all the different issues happening, and on a daily basis or wherever when you wanted to access it, that would be amazing. So for example, if you say if you go calibrate a sensor every day and you put it on the daily drilling report at the top, people are going to see this every single day and they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, this is not great. Like, we need to make our sensors better, like the quality of them. Or, as just an example. So one way you can do that through in addition to the transparency or a system of such, you could have that in your contracts. So the energy companies, the operators themselves can say, I expect this to be in this range if you would like to get paid. And, maybe they can go and do spot checks every day, or actually part of the contract they could say, you need to calibrate it every day. I'm not sure really the mechanics that would be the best, but I think between both of those, you could make a lot of headway.
Well, that's going to be an interesting thing to see the industry progress with the transparency of data. But Ryan, thank you so much for giving us this insight. I know that as the oil field becomes more and more digitalized, these questions are going to keep coming up more and more. And so it's great to hear your perspective on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you for visiting Drilling Contractor.